And talking about the Literature Prize, I want to take you back in 1986 when you were receiving your Nobel Prize for Literature, which you dedicated your speech to Mandela at the time he was in jail. I want to ask your opinion about what you think of the progress that has been made so far in South Africa, both socially and politically, and in the wake of the World Cup.
Well, I'm not a keen footballer. I mean, I don't share the excitement. I mean, I like watching football occasionally. If I happen to be passing by a television set and the teams are playing, I do. But I've never understood the fanaticism, the almost religious fanaticism that goes with football. It's interesting to watch, and the way I look at football, this kind of competition is a gigantic ritual that brings the world together. In other words, I sort of see it beyond the game itself. I watch football enthusiasts, and they're really an amazing breed. I've never really...
You have more fun watching the enthusiasts than the game itself.
Yeah. I mean, no, I do. I like the game. I think it's very skilled, but I just don't... The level of enthusiasm of people...
Me and you, boss. I don't get it either, so I understand what you're talking about.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
But I think the World Cup, bringing the World Cup being played on the African continent for the first time ever, has more than just significance for the footballers and football fans themselves. It has.
Yes, I'm in agreement with that, and it's a good thing that it's being played on South African soil. That's one place to which the world rallied during its political critical period, its period of dehumanization of African peoples and so on. So with that phase being more or less over, if whatever it is that seals the acceptability of South Africa further on the world map is a very good thing for South Africans, and an opportunity also, a challenge to South Africa to try and to work harder at curing the anomalies which still exist on that continent and in that country.
Okay, let me take you back to our readers here. One reader from Nigeria, Kunle Ifesanya, says, please ask Professor Soyinka whether Nigeria should continue to be one country under the present system of what he calls decay, or the country should peacefully separate in different countries. Obviously, this is an issue that has been brought up in a couple of debates, given the violence that has been cropping up between the South and the North. And
let me say this, that Nigeria is sort of priming herself to hit the rocks if that nation does not undergo a serious structural change. In other words, Nigeria started out as a true federal polity. This was distorted by the military. Nigerians are yearning to go back to that genuine federal system. If the nation does, then I believe that the security of that nation as one entity is assured. If it doesn't, the stresses, the inegalities which exist at the moment will surely make that country hit the rocks. So it's not a question of whether one wants the nation to be one or not. It's a question of whether those in whose hands the future of that nation rests at the moment are honest enough to understand that what made Nigeria a viable entity in the first place has been eroded. And therefore, in other words, the over-centralization introduced by the military, the lopsidedness of federal, the principles of revenue distribution, etc., these are destroying the nation as an entity. and they've got to be corrected.
Mr. Soyinka, talk to me a little bit about an organization that you're part of, PRONACO, an organization that is organizing a representative national conference to decide the future of Nigeria.
Well, first of all, that organization brought out a draft constitution, which we say should be presented with others, to the nation. But at least it came up with a document. And the main thrust of that document, just to summarize it, is total decentralization, to remove this incubus of putting all the directions of productivity, civil service. That promotion of the centralist mentality as a political culture has got to be completely destroyed. And that was what, in great detail, was spelled out in the draft document that came of year-and-a-half-long sessions.
What is the make of the organization itself? I've read some criticism.
Well, let me just say, many people, of course, didn't even know. Many people who've spoken about PRONACO just didn't even take the trouble to find out. For instance, let's just take one: the basis of the selection, election, sometimes, in fact, of those who came together. And it was a crisscross. The PRONACO began by identifying all the ethnic nationalities in the nation, all the ethnic nationalities, some very tiny, which we'll never hear of. PRONACO began from there, and inviting them to send representatives to the meeting. In addition, PRONACO identified the various civic organizations, trade unions, human rights organizations, professional bodies like the NBA, National Bar Association, student bodies, women's organization, market women, the police, the military, and invited them to send representations. For the first time, it was the first time many of these entities, even saw themselves participating in such an exercise as preparing a draft constitution. And so you had this network. It was a crisscross network consisting of creating a grid between civil society and ethnic nationalities. This is what makes it, in my view, one of the most representative gatherings that nation, Nigeria, has ever experienced. More representative even than some constituent assemblies that we've had, constitution-making assemblies that we've had in the past. And the proceedings have been published. Each time the government, under Obasanjo, for instance, wanted to tinker with constitution, cosmetic tinkering, we sent along this document for them to look at, to see what could be of use to them in it. And endeavors have been made to have it adopted on various levels, and it's been adopted by several ethnic nationalities. So there it is, it's in the open. But of course, the legislatures will never act against their own interests, because we're running at the moment a totally unviable constitution, lopsided, top-heavy, still centralized, but it pays the members of the legislative houses, most of whom were not elected anyway, and they're not about to give up the very lopsided existence which they enjoy at the expense of the electorate itself. So what is going to happen is difficult to predict, but I know that we are maintaining through this constitution nothing but a cluster of vampires who are battening on resources in a manner that that nation can ill afford. And something is going to break. It's obvious. Something is going to break.
Okay. Let me take you to one of our readers, Atmos Kasivante, asks Professor Soyinka, what would you change if you were to rewrite the open soil of a continent written when Abacha was in power?
Nothing. That book was very valid for what was happening at the time, and also, of course, veered into the very principle of nation being, from what I recall of it. I don't imagine that would change anything.
Nigeria was in the news recently, Christmas Day last year, the issue of the Christmas Day bomber. You have talked a little bit about that, and you've laid a part of the blame to Western societies like England that allows religions to practice freely. What do you think is the root of this problem, the problem that led to this Christmas Day saga?
Very quickly, let me correct you. Yeah. I never blamed Britain or any nation for allowing religion to flourish freely. Never. I wouldn't say a thing like that. No.
But you said that the United Kingdom's social logic allows every religion
to... No, extremism. Extremism allows even hate religions to flourish. The anti-humanistic preachers of religion allow them to flourish. Distinguish absolutely between religion and extremism. Okay. And I was talking about extremism. And the evidence is there. It wasn't something which I had to say. I was answering a question. Everybody, look at the kind of hate preachers that have flourished in Britain for years. Which sometimes they're occasionally taken to court and they're allowed, sometimes just cautioned and discharged, and they continue. They're vitriolic, really insensitive and inciting kind of religious literature. Any society which tolerates that kind of conduct is obviously storing up trouble for itself. And of course, that trouble has not been long in coming. You have the bombing of the public transportation system, underground buses, a number of others were just nipped in the bud. These were extremists born often, but definitely bred in England, in the United Kingdom. And this happened through the rather laissez-faire, over-tolerant, and sometimes quote-unquote, I hate that expression, politically correct form of attitude of government. Of course, for me, this is politically and socially incorrect and dangerous. So that's what I was talking about. I want to see all religions flourish side by side. I find religion a very important aspect of human life, of social life. And it's a pity that religion has been distorted. Religions are expressions of human spirituality. I'm not an enthusiastic religious man myself, but I recognize the spiritual dimension of human beings, which are then expressed in structures like religions and all their the arts, the architecture, sometimes even landscape. Much of what we enjoy in our aesthetic existence actually come from religion. So I don't like to badmouth religion. I never do. But it's those who poison the minds of people through recourse to religion. Those who also lie against religion, like this man, this character, Senator Yerima. Can you imagine also, actually having as a senator, a lawgiver in our society, a pedophile, who then cites religion as his excuse for deflowering underage.
You're talking about the issue of a 13-year-old who's...
Yes, that man. These are the people who debase religion. These are the ones we're talking about. We're not talking about genuine... Yes, so that's what I'm saying. So you see, there are those who use religion for their own purposes, either to satisfy their perversions or to create environments for themselves when they do not have to answer to the laws of the land. Those who take underage women from one country where they know they cannot conduct themselves in a particular manner, and then come back into Nigeria, their own nation, to break the laws of the land, and then say, it's okay, Prophet Muhammad also married an underage girl, and so on and so forth. I mean, for me, this is blasphemy, and I find it totally intolerable. So these are the ones we're talking about, the liars, the hypocrites, and the hate merchants of religion.
And those who kill in the name of religion.
Yes.
The recent massacre in Nigeria also, where I think it was in northern Nigeria, does that go back to the same issue?
Yes, and I'm glad you raised that, because it proves that one is not just talking about one country. It's not that one is ignoring what's happening in one's own backyard. And of course, within Nigeria, I've criticized the encouragement of impunity within Nigeria by successive governments. It's their failure to take stern, prompt action against the killers, the psychopaths of religion. It's their failure. That's what has resulted in waves of massacre like that of the Boko Haram, soon followed by Jos. And then, of course, they try to reduce it to only one factor. Now, nobody's denying that economic factor was also behind the Jos killings. But we know that what is evoked as authority for the butchering of other people is religion. That is what people feel. Then they try to push that aside and say, oh, it's all economic problems and so on. But what do they say when they go out to kill? They're shouting religious slogans. And you cannot ignore that fact or pretend that it's just a war cry. No, it's the evocation of religion to take up arms. And this is what any society that is multi-religious or secular by declaration, has got to stamp out this evocation of religion for evil purposes. So we also, in Nigeria, we are just as guilty, in very different ways. It's just that we don't export our own religious fanatics. At least it didn't happen until this recent.
Right.
We don't export it.
Professor Soyinka, thank you very much. It was a pleasure and an honor to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.